Hello, everyone. Well, welcome to my session. Today, actually, we are going to, this is just a thank you for the presentation, just a brief overview of my profile. So I'm just going to talk before I get into this. Just want to mention to you guys, I work for USF in Sarasota-Manatee, and I teach, but I also do consulting work. So I'm kind of like doing both of them. And why I do that, it's because I think there is a gap between academia and industry. And even when, as an undergraduate, when I was in majoring in computer science, I found this problem. And then I don't want to be a professor who doesn't have experience in the industry. So I'm trying to do both. And unfortunately, IT field is changing all the time. So that's why I have to be up to date with all the tools that are out there, you know, all the materials that are out there. So that's kind of helped me. So today's topic is actually kind of interesting, and I can give you a little bit background of how I started doing this. Gen Z, well, what we call it, the Generation Z, is also, these generations are coming to our colleges now. And I'm going to go through what are the differences between this new generation and the other generations that we have, and how, as an educator, how we can educate them, because definitely it's kind of different. Just also give you another background, like I am actually teaching most of my courses online, like that's the requirement that they want you to teach the courses online. And that's another thing that I'm going to tell you about my experience working with the students who are coming from this generation as well, and how that is different from the experiences that I had previously. So basically, just before we start this, I just wanted to give you kind of an infographic of what are some of the characteristics that you might think about Gen Z. They are born in the technology age, so they're kind of very familiar with the technology. And they are actually helping, and I did a research on Gen Z and marketing, and that's what I found, that actually a lot of purchases that the parents are doing is influenced by this generation, even like picking which hotel to go, you know, which travel to take. So they are actually influencing the adults. And there are other things like that basically you might see. They are kind of aware of all these crises that's happening around us in terms of the terrorism, and probably nowadays you see in the news how the high school students are kind of, you know, trying to change some laws or trying to kind of persuade some politician, and also about the energy crisis. They're very aware of what's going on around them. So who is Generation Z? Because maybe sometimes you might not know exactly who they are. Basically, they are born between mid-1990s, so they are about up to 21 years old, I can say that, up to 21 years old. And they are actually connected from the birth with computers and PCs and all that. So just, you might wonder, okay, how about us? What are we? You know, we are older than 21. What do we fall into? Well, Generation Zs are 21 and under, and they are about 26% of the population of the United States. And in US, there are actually 65 million people who are Gen Z. And in the world, it's about 1.6 billion people, I mean, kids, or whatever you want to call it, the Gen Zs, and they are actually growing as well. So the millennials are between 22 to 37. Before I was very happy, oh, I'm millennial, you know, now. So as you age, you might just fall into Gen X. Oh my God, Gen X are basically about 15%. Baby boomers are between 50 to 68, which is also a large population of US, 24%, and the silent generation, which are 69 plus, which are 10%. So basically, this kind of give you a demographic of why Gen X now becoming important. And so even from the marketing perspective, from education in the classroom, they are the future of our countries. So that's why it's very important to bring this awareness to everybody. And So they are basically the youngest people on the planet. So a lot of people are like, okay, so how are they different from millennial? Because they are very close to the age, you know. So that's why I kind of distinguished here. Gen Zs, basically, they are multitaskers. They can actually look at 5 screens at the same time. Millennial, maybe 2 screens at the same time. The Gen Zs, they communicate with images. Images is very important for them. So that's one of the things, like maybe even in our classroom, just think about it, maybe we can use more images to show them and things like that. Millennials, they communicate with text. They like the text much better. So, you know, like a lot of people now, they're using a Snapchat. This new generation using a Snapchat, versus millennial, mostly they are using Facebook. So in a Snapchat, they just take a picture of something, send it, you know, they're happy. The Gen Zs, they like to create things. This is one thing. They have an entrepreneurship mind. The research kind of proves that they like to be a creator of things, versus millennials, they love the sharing, you know, from the time that it's a start. Okay, I can share this app, I can share this post, I can, you know, into Twitter. So they like about sharing. Gen Zs, they are future focused, more future focused than millennial. Millennials are mostly focused on the present. Why the reason is that they are more future focused? That could be because you know, the economical problems that their parents faced and all the problems that are coming with the society. So they are kind of wanting to build the future, and they want to make an impact. They are realistic, versus millennials are more optimistic. They want to work for success, versus millennial, they want to be discovered. And they have more tolerance. The millennials, they like the togetherness. And Gen Zs, they are more team-oriented, believe it or not. And I can see that from my classroom's observation that I'm doing, online classroom observation, that they like to work in teams more than what previous generation were doing. So just give you some, so now this is a comparison of everybody, of the basically millennials, baby boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. So basically there are some differences that you can find in more, but more in terms of the Gen Z, they actually, one thing that is very different from the other groups, they like the security and the stability. So that's why they are more realistic about the future. You know, and that's because they see like the problems that their parents have, the economical problems that the world has, and things like that. So Gen Z knows how to self-educate and find information. This is very true. For those of you who are teaching in the classroom, you know, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, maybe I should have known this, but I don't. They know better than me right now, because they were born with computers. Especially if you are teaching in the field of information technology, you will find a lot of students who are kind of like, they are out there, they know, and they want to find it very quickly, and they have access to find it very quickly. I mean, they can put everything in Google and just come like in a matter of seconds. So they actually like to self-educate, and that's actually helpful for online learning. So that's why a lot of universities are actually pushing the online learning as well, because I find actually also my students, they are like that. They actually like to self-educate themselves too. Not that I'm not teaching them anything. I hope I add value to them, but I think they like that idea. They are tech savvies, so they have basically no memories of not having a cell phone, no memories of email, no memories, I mean, of Facebook, of texting, you know. They actually, without it, they can't even work. So they think, okay, this is necessary, this is what it has to be, you know. But for us, maybe the generation before, you know, we are like, okay, we can work without the Facebook and without texting and even without cell phone, you know. we can still imagine those times that we can work without these things. But these generations, they cannot imagine working without these tools, basically. And another thing that is good, they are using the social media to make good things happen. Actually, they are very, they make an impact by doing a lot of volunteering, by crowdsourcing, by a lot of basically things like that, and using social media to empower them to be able to do good to the society. So they think about that as well. They want to change the world for better. More than 60% want to impact the world through their job, compared with 39%. They think that job makes a big difference. A quarter of Gen Zs in America are basically volunteering. And I can say that not only that they want, I mean, they want to volunteer too, but also now we have a lot of scholarships that are attached to the volunteer work, that are attached to the service work. So they are getting used to doing volunteer, whereas millennials were not. Like, even in my teaching experience, I can tell you this is a big thing that I see. Like, when I was teaching the students before, if I would have asked them to do this project for a nonprofit organization, they're like, are we getting paid? You know, why am I gonna do this? For Gen Z, it's a little bit different. They are more used to doing volunteer work. So they are kind of like accepting that and want to do good and see the value. So there are few things that are valuable for them. Speed is important. They want to have everything quickly. They are hunger for choices, making choices. They want to have something that has a meaning, and time is valuable for them. So, and also they want to work in relaxed environment. So, you know, they don't want to like wear a tie and suit and this and that. They just want to be relaxed, you know, and even in a classroom that is kind of, I'm not saying disorganized, but something that they can feel comfortable and be relaxed in. So basically, some other facts, 77% of Gen Z are either extremely or very interested in voluntary, as I said. They like to do voluntary, and they like to do things that has an impact on the planet. So how do we teach Gen Z students? This is a question for you guys. Do you see a difference in the students entering the college, or I'm just seeing it? How about you guys? Anybody? Yeah.
We had a similar discussion last week about this, trying to get students to do extracurricular activities, so not necessarily volunteer work. And we came to the conclusion that students are pretty much the same now as they were when we were students, and in different cultures. We have an opinion that students are students, and there might be some slight they might be different in ways, for example, that they use a mobile phone, but they still go for the quality of life, which is hanging out with their friends and free time and that kind of thing. So maybe in some specifics that they might be different, but we came to the conclusion, and it's not
kind of
scientific at all.
For you. Yeah?
But they're pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah?
I'll take an example of my old son. He's 14 and a half. His study group is online. His playing group is online, and they're the same. His chatting group is online, and they give a lot of input about what's going on in their life, at school, in everything. But at the same time, their non-online activity are still together. So it created a totally different dimension to how they use the devices and the online environment to help them study, which is completely different the way we were used to study. We didn't have this direct interaction. We worked together on projects, we worked together on any assignment. We are in a totally different domain, in a totally different environment.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody else? Yeah?
It's mainly a cultural thing, but in South Africa, I found that the students nowadays have a voice. In the past, students were not supposed to ask questions, they have a very subdued. But now, your question was whether or not we see a change in our students. And I feel that the technology emancipated them, it gave them a voice. and they are not scared to offer an opinion nowadays or ask questions to the professor, which wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
If I may follow up on that, my son at school had a teacher who encouraged questions anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the class,
Yeah.
you can post a question on the site anonymously, and the teacher will deal with it in front of the class. And that opened up a lot for students who are intimidated by what's going on.
Nice,
The
yeah.
online environment gave them this opportunity. They could ask whatever they like. And he has a very interesting rule. There is no stupid question. The stupid question is the question you don't ask.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I ride a bicycle a lot, and I have to be really careful not to run over students because they are continually looking at their phones. And I mean, to and from class, outside class, continually engaged with their phones.
Yeah, the attention span is the problem. Yeah.
What generation have we ever seen before who was able to organize and have a meeting in the Oval Office a week after such a horrific incident as Parkland? What generation was able, I'm getting chills, okay, to plan a walkout today at 10 a.m., schools across the whole United States, the whole United States, that the administration's all shaken up, that, oh, are they gonna give the children permission or suspend them or penalize them? Get over ourselves. We need to learn how to deal with the technology, to use it for good, to embrace it, and here to stay.
Yes, that's true. Very good point. Yep.
Comments. One to the cyclist. At my school, we're a very small campus, but some of our classes are across a busy street, and there are 2 crosswalks, and they will follow the light in one crosswalk because it's a very busy highway that they have to cross. But the other one is kind of a quieter road in front of the campus, and they will just herd right across that, whether they're blocking cars or not. And it's just kind of like a little pack, and a lot of their heads are down in their phones. So whether it's a car or a cyclist, I see that awareness as well. And the observation I was going to make is, and having been born in 1959, I'm like 3 generations ahead of your curve, but where we're talking. But it seems to me the learning is in the classroom. To me, it was show me or tell me, show me, and now let me do it. And this delivery, and Grandin's modeling in our DBA program a lot of very innovative delivery channels for instruction, the collaboration, all of that. So as I'm dealing with college students in my classrooms, they're not, the example he's made a couple times to us, and he's made it here, on a measurement of vital brain activity, sitting and listening to a lecture is equivalent to death. And so if they're not engaged in the learning, and their attention span is very quick, it takes a lot to hold them, and you can lose them in a flash.
That's very true. Yeah. These are the characteristics of Gen Zs. Yeah. Any other? Yes.
I'm from Canada at our university, but it's a movement not just at our university. We've been pushed by our government to reconsider our curriculum and how we're delivering. And it's related to this and the generations that are coming up. It's happening in our public school systems as well. So for example, at our university, we've implemented a concept-based curriculum. I don't know if anybody's involved with that, but that totally flips your classrooms. And it comes with it supports this type of learning for these students where they have to come prepared, they're active learners, and the slide deck is gone. So it's a very different way, and I'm from the late 50s as well, so that approach is totally different. And it's being demanded by our students want to be part of it more. There's still some resistance, but I think it's because you have different generations in the classroom, but they want to be the active learners. So we have to look at how those of us that have been in the system for a while, I think we need to look at how we're delivering our program.
Exactly. We need to adapt to this new generation because we're going to see more and more of them coming. So.
One thing I find is some of our students I teach at the university level as well, and some of the nursing students that we teach have difficulty in the clinical area communicating with some of the patients. That's one of their most difficult. Giving the needle is not difficult. It's communicating with the patients they're finding. It's the most difficult one of the most difficult tasks. So we have to learn to teach them in a way that they can communicate in a safe and open way with patients.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, we had some really good comments, and you kind of actually we saw, a lot of you saw that they are kind of different and they are using the technology definitely. And also they are active learner. And that's the main thing. That concept of active learning is very important, and we need to incorporate that in our curriculum. So basically, again, they like to use social media. So one other thing for the marketing research that I did, like the social media is the first thing. But 90% use Facebook, 64% use Instagram, 26% use Twitter, 52% use YouTube and other sites. So they are basically, you know, they like to use, I mean, if you want to market to them, these are the ways. The social media is basically one way to do that. And these are basically, there was a conference actually from the Cengage Learning Computing Conference, and they came up with what does all this mean for your classes. And that was interesting that I got this from there. I thought it's true. Pragmatic orientation, your more cautious orientation. So maybe if you want to talk about the risk of the life, you know, think about the risks that are involved in the life, you know, having different way of how to deal with risk. These are some of the things also is important. They are self-directed. They like to actually, and that's easier for us if you are teaching the online, they like to actually go and find the material. And they don't need to be handheld. Whereas millennials, they were more like you had to hold their hand. So that's a new generation. That's what we have to think, how to educate them. They have the social media, so we need to use the social media in our classes even, you know, for a lot of reasons. So I can tell you from my experience, I'm teaching online courses, that when I have I can use a session to have an online kind of a session, and everybody can join me. But, and I'm not requiring them to have a microphone. I have a microphone and I talk. But at the beginning, I actually asked them, you should have a microphone. And then I found that they are not even participating. So nowadays, I don't ask them to have a microphone. They just come and they text. They like writing. They ask me their question by texting, and I just answer it by like talking to them. So it's just, and they're happy, and I'm used to it. At the beginning, it was hard for me because I had to like, you know, go through the slides, then look at this. Now I'm used to it. I'm used to multitasking too. Okay, you look at three different screens. So it's kind of, they're changing the way I'm working now as well. Also, they like to find everything on Google. So we might actually put this into the benefit and ask them to do more research, because they like to find something and then that's it. So they don't like to be getting more in detail of it. So maybe we can encourage them to get more detail about their searches, because they can find about maybe hundreds of different things. So now we have to kind of teach them how to put it together to kind of maybe bring the research perspective to our classroom as well. Also, we need to explain academic integrity. That's important, because a lot of, I find especially a lot of people, they're just kind of copying and pasting, and you know, it's great. You know, sharing is great. So you need to have at least some source of information, like put your sources where you are getting it. So they like to spend more time with their computer. 41%, they like to spend more time with their computer. So that's the thing. That's their tool. And what do they expect from us? They want it to be more digital, prefer more digital. They need for a speed. So if they are, for example, in the classes, they are messaging me today, they want to respond. They're sitting there waiting for me to respond to that. So like I have my email attached to my phone, so I get the email, I respond to it right away. And they are happy with that. They can work with that because that's the way it is. And they are very social. They are actually social. They like to talk more than the generation before. They like to actually they like to do good for the society. So they are learning that from all their volunteer work that they are doing. And I've been actually involved with few scholarship awards, and the amount of work that I've seen for some of the students to get those awards, especially for service learning, was amazing. So I was very impressed actually with the amount of volunteer work that they are doing. Interested in volunteering, as I said, they are embracing technology. We need to embrace the technology in our classroom, and also we have to provide active learning method. As my colleague here, she mentioned, it's very important. We need to change our curriculum maybe to fit that to them. So how some of the things we can embrace, maybe embrace technology, like we have a content management system, and it's like on Blackboard. So I asked them, okay, create group on Blackboard, collaborate. Then they said, can we use Google Hangout? I said, okay, use Google Hangout. So now I'm incorporating, now I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use the Blackboard Collaborate. Now I'm going to use the Google Hangout to, involve with them with their project. So we need to embrace those things maybe. Again, they are reaching for their smart devices every 7 minutes. So they're kind of like, And yes, sorry.
I found my students now, because I teach online too, they don't even want to log into the computer. They're like, I'm not doing that. They're using the Brightspace, they're using Canvas right on the phone,
Yes.
and they're doing the work on the phone, so I'm seeing a bit of a degradation with their English and their writing skills.
Yes. Yeah, everything shorthanded, like, yes. That is what I see too. And they just like ebooks. They don't like to go buy, actual book. They prefer to have ebooks. And maybe we can provide that. Like actually this semester I was like, okay, many people, they said, can we have the ebook of this? I was like, okay, maybe I should do that.
Students are asking for audio.
Yeah, that's true too, audiobooks.
And they said I could plug my phone in the car when I'm driving, I listen to the chapter you want, and it's done.
Yeah. And they are using their time well too for that.
Because not everything is technology.
That's true.
However, I found some interesting activity that I'm doing in class. I give them questions, and the rule is you need to get the answer from outside the country by communicating with other people, not searching on Google. You need to be communicating with another person in another country, and there is a minimum of 5 countries. Go ahead and find yourself. And it's everybody with their device trying to find. The funny story is we had a student, his cousin is doing PhD in England. He texted him, I need the answer for this question urgent. He replied, why? He said, I'm in class, my teacher next to me. He replied to him, since when you study? I didn't think you're serious. So even his cousin could not believe that he's
actually doing something.
Which created a totally different dimension to the environment.
Yes. Yes.
How do you deal with the legal framework for digitization of teaching? So if you're recommending your kids go online, if you're recommending your kids do research, in the classroom you're very protected in terms of what they're learning. There it's an open book. So there's a lot of not so good things up there. In technology, if it's accessible, and they could say, well, you know what, let's say I found how to make a bomb because I was doing research for something in your class. How do you deal with the legal framework in that? Like the university setting, you got to be accountable for all your students.
Yes, like that's what we need to focus on, the academic integrity part of it as well. From the legal perspective, like we had this issue also, like I asked them to put this stuff on the YouTube for the projects, the presentation all in YouTube. And again, yes, there are some, they were, again, also we can get sued if the students, they don't want to be photographed or they don't want to even be, so we need to kind of, in order to have our data and resources, we can actually, we can create a private, for example, YouTube account. So they are using the technology, but they're not actually putting it out there. So that's another way, maybe. But if they are searching something and, in terms of searching it on Google, if they are using from our campus, then we have the security in place. Like they cannot go to any other sites that's not allowing them to do that. But if they are doing it from outside, then we have no control over that. I don't know any other comments you might have. Yes?
I just want to support what you said and the colleagues. Like we've seen we're fully online now with live video classes, and we've seen a spike in challenging with academic dishonesty. So we've had to actually directly teach that instead of in the past waiting until the assignment had a problem and then dealing with it. So now we address it more directly. We've also moved the writing assignment to the beginning of this semester so that we have more time to work on their writing skills throughout the semester. We used to have more writing at the end.
That's a very good point. That's very important if we have the writing at the beginning.
I think we've now got to change the way we teach because this is the environment they're going to be working in. So we need to be savvy as well. And if necessary, from a legal perspective, maybe you need an acceptable use agreement, which all students have to buy into. And then if necessary, you need to have these orientation workshops at the beginning where you push what you consider still important in terms of academic rigor. You don't want plagiarism, writing skills. You want it to be of a higher education level. You don't want it to be in code. So I think we've just got to realize that this is where we have to start teaching, and we need to prepare them and ourselves for that environment.
Yes, very good point. So basically, and also, they like it to be short. Not that I'm saying you should just cut everything and, but that's what they want. They want to have the communication content short and as what it's needed. So they don't want to read like an email that you send them, like maybe it has like 2 paragraphs. They just want the points. And so they have an 8-second attention span. So that's something that you might want to think about as well. So the videos, again, if you are creating it online, it should not be like, you should divide it into smaller videos, maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, not a 60 minutes or a 70 minutes or 50 minutes video, because they don't want to listen to that. I mean, you can put it in a small, divide them into smaller videos and then put it on. They would probably prefer that. So that's another thing. And you want to have active learning method. As our colleague mentioned, you want to have less lecture, using of multimedia, and collaborating with peers. I can give you an example, like in my classes, like I teach database just for your kind of, like I teach a database class that has a, they have to create a database for a client. And when they are, and I am making sure that all of my classes have a real world project, that the students are actually, it doesn't have to be a huge project. It's something that's manageable, and the students are delivering this in a small parts and pieces. And every week I meet with them online, and they are online. So they are working together online, but they are using Google Hangouts, they are using Blackboard Collaborate, so they are kind of, and they are actually, I put a video of the customer and kind of a request for proposal that the customer requirements. I put it out there, and I had a video with the client, and then the client is in touch with the students online, and they are actually doing the project. And I haven't had any complaints for past 3-4 years that I'm doing this, because the students, at the end, they see the value, and they like to use the tool that's applicable to the industry. And that's a catch here. Like these students, they want to see this. And they like to collaborate with peers online. So applicability is very important. Make learning outcome and activities relevant. And they should also be exposed to different fields of technology that they can be involved in. Even if they are not IT students, if they are nursing, there should be some parts of the courses that talk about the technology that they can be involved in, because that's what they are going to use. It doesn't matter if they are going to nursing, if they are going to medical school, if they are going for engineering, they have to use the technology, and that's important to incorporate that. So again, teach students the benefit of taking risk, because they are kind of cautious. They are kind of maybe scared of their parents, risking everything and losing everything in the economical situation. So they are a little bit cautious, but you need to encourage them to take risk and actually ask them to participate in different conferences and contests. That's very important. You know, you want to have them kind of be in a competition, and it's okay if you lose. You will learn something from it. So that's very important. And then the connection. They are more willing to pursue learning outcome when they are connecting with them on a personal level. So you need to be able to connect with the students. They like to see that. So that's kind of a connection between the professor and the teacher is also a key. And educational freedom, this is something that's important. Okay, I'm going to be done soon. So they want to be creative and think critically about the problems. They want to actually have they want to be in a relaxed environment, and they want to be able to make their own choices. They don't like some kind of somebody tells them what to do. That's not what they want. Okay, I'm just gonna shorten because we don't have that much time. Oh, I just so one other thing that I wanted to show them. Communication, you can use symbols, picture, videos. That's something that you want to show them actually. And that's it. So basically, the future generation is here, and we need to learn how to educate them. And that's it for my talk.